You're going to make more money and have great sex tonight on the Tom Kelly Show.
Tom Kelly Show. Everybody, I want you to go to the Tom Kelly Show. I want you all to know about the Tom Kelly Show. Thank you.
Here we go. Trigger warning, spoiler alert. Are you ready to make more money and have great sex? You are experiencing an old-fashioned, straight-to interviewing a guest version of the Tom Kelly Show. Before I bring on my guest, Shamina Taylor, and we're going to go right into it. So I'm going to keep the podcasty, monologue-y story short. I went to a Super Connector Media event. I was with Ines Rosalis from Fox 5 News, and it's the Jen Gottlieb event with Chris Winfield. We've talked about it on the podcast before over the last 2 years. It's like a networking kind of a thing. You're supposed to meet media big shots. And let's face it, folks, I have a podcast. I must be a big shot. They were giving me free booze. And my friend Inez sees our friend Shamina in the distance and says, "Oh my God, she has like perfect hair. I need to meet her." Okay. And Shamina comes up with like just farting confidence, people, just confidence coming in and out, oozing out of every orifice. And everybody in this like Super Connector Media class has to have like their one sentence pitch. And Shamina's pitch was, "I teach women how to make more money and have great sex." And I just walked away and said, "Give me your card. I want you on my podcast. I don't want to waste getting to know you at this bar event. I want to capture the magic of meeting you on a Zoom meeting for my listeners and viewers." And here she is, ladies and gentlemen. So ladies, tighten up the pants. You're about to have better sex by the end of this. Shamina, is that really your pitch?
It's really the result of the work that I do. So it's become my pitch. My clients came up with it. So yes, indeed.
Is that really so? So you started with life coaching, blah blah blah, which we'll get into in a minute. But what came first, the sentence or the sex?
Well, the sex came before the sentence, obviously.
Okay, yeah, but you realized it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was like a side effect of the work I was doing. I wasn't a life coach, by the way. Please do not put me in that category.
Okay, what is, and actually what is the category you put yourself in so I could sound smart?
I'm a former attorney that's a wealth expert, and I'm a mentor to high-level women.
Okay, and I intentionally, outside of like perusing the Instagram, I've done zero research on this interview. I want to own that. Normally I like stalk people, I go crazy, but I really just enjoyed that like magic of meeting you. And you're like, I don't know why people are gravitating to me. And you really do. And this may sound weird to say, but you have perfect bangs. You really like feathery. I'm in Charlie Angels. Who is that? Farrah Fawcett. You have Farrah Fawcett bangs and a perfect tan that just make people want to be friends with you. And you're so pretty that I know it ain't going to happen. Like, it's great. Like we're in that, like, it's just, you're just glowing. And then I'm like, what do you do? I teach people how to make more money and have great sex. I'm like, who doesn't want that?
Exactly.
So I've been trying to help women have great sex for years, but they're like, no, thank you, Tom. We really don't want to go back to your place.
Oh,
I didn't get that joke.
That's awesome. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was going to say, how often do you get that joke? But
right. Yeah, I
do you get it a lot?
Well, I mean, it's just, for me, it's like, honestly, it's the most incredible thing when I start seeing a woman step into like this va-va-va-voom like energy. It's like, I believe money is masculine, and I believe that the way we receive it is feminine. So the more that a woman's in her femininity and her power, money just comes to her. And so now if you think about money being masculine, and there's men out there who are masculine, and you are the attractor of it, then, men are just going to come to you. So it's it was like a side effect. Women get pregnant in my containers. I have one having a baby now. They have so much sex, they're not getting any work done sometimes, or they're attracting their dream client. I had a woman who, she's got a multimillionaire for a boyfriend, and she went years without a boyfriend. It's like you just start getting into this feminine essence, but you get to be a boss and powerful and confident. And what man wouldn't want to like have sex with a woman like that? Like
Okay.
it's like it's amazing.
So let's go slow. First of all, do your tips work for men?
It does. It does in a
So
different
like,
way.
the guys who are listening to you talk, if you're helping women make more money and have great sex, the guys don't have to worry that following your tips will make them go broke and masturbate.
So here's the thing. When it comes to the man, like men are masculine, and they're in that true men in their masculinity, like healed masculine energy. They're dominant, they're planners, they're strategic, they're hunters, they're out there searching, and they're the ones that go, looking for the money, the women. And women who are A types, alpha females, they're not in that feminine energy. They're in their masculine energy. So they're like chasing the man. They're like, why isn't he called yet? Where is he? Where's the money? What am I doing? And I'm like, ladies, ease up on this alpha stuff. Like, it's okay to have, be strong and powerful, but just lean back and let it happen. So when you have that, you have to have polarity. So for there to be a masculine and a feminine, you
Right.
have to have somebody being in that energy. So a lot of these alpha females are like, oh, my husband or the guy I'm with, he's so feminine, he doesn't take initiative. I'm like, because you're so in your masculine, you don't want to. I almost swore on your show. I'm sorry.
No, you can do. I mean, you can
Okay.
swear, but try not to. That's what
You
we're.
don't want to have sex with him. Okay. But I was going to use another
Okay,
F
wait,
word,
no,
but
no, we can say it. So you don't want to fuck him. Is that what you're saying?
basically, yeah. And you don't want, and they're like, yep. And you're like, the way he eats his carrots really irritate you. You're like, yep. But what these women are doing is they're emasculating the man. So he doesn't have a chance to just be in his energy and tell her what to do because she's so damn bossy. Like in your business, you get to be, somewhat bossy and do your thing. But if you can understand the transformation that can happen with you, and when I've seen women do it, it is incredible. Like they start having their highest cash months, money's coming out of nowhere, and they're all like, I'm having the best sex of my life. And so in order to have the best sex, a woman has to be a receiver.
Okay.
Okay. We are designed to receive, if you put it that way. All right. We're designed to catch. So if you are always chasing and dominating, there's no way for the money or the man to come into you, to be honest with you. And so if you're allowing yourself to be in receivership, you'll receive compliments. So sometimes you tell a woman, oh, you're beautiful, and she'll be like, oh, no, I'm not. Or, oh,
Yeah,
this,
yeah, I hate that.
and
Yeah,
they're not, they're just allowing them, or let me open the door. I've got it. Okay, chill out, lady. Let him
yeah.
open the door.
I
Let
tend
him
to
pick
fall
the
for women who are entitled. I tend to fall for alpha women who are sometimes entitled. I used to say I sometimes fall for tall, athletic women, but I also fall for women who are at the top of their respective games. And women who really don't want me. I fall for sociopaths and narcissists used to be my line.
Well, you have a toxic pattern, and then we can break that. But
Okay.
that's just because it's an addiction. And most of the time that addiction it's the wounded masculine and it's the wounded feminine. So that's a whole deeper conversation.
Yeah.
But
I'd
but there is a toxic pattern there. But you do want a strong woman.
right.
You
And
know,
I think a lot of men do, but they don't know it.
yeah. They
So
do. They do, but they want a healthy, strong woman, a woman who's not in her wounded masculine. And most alpha females are in their wounded masculine. They're not in a healthy masculine state, so their feminine can't rise. And this is why they chase money. They make a lot of my clients make, $500,000. They make $100,000. They make like lots of money, but they haven't hit like maybe. Or if they hit millions, they still haven't realized that they can be safe and feel safe around the masculine. So they're always controlling everything, which usually comes from some sort of like trauma they've had in their life.
okay.
Yeah.
You just hit where I wanted to go, which is so you help women make more money and have great sex. So do you start by helping them make more money and that leads to the great sex?
Yes. So here's what happens. I kind of trick them a little bit. I bring them in and I teach them how to be the master of their emotions. I also teach them to pull down the shield. Because what happens is when a woman's in that alpha high achiever state, most of them are a little bit of ice queens. They've got like a a block and they've got a little armor on their heart. So you can't really feel them, but they're super uber smart because they're in their mind, logical thinking. So, but they're not, you can't feel them. And so what I teach them to do is become the master of their emotions. I teach them to let down the shield, to be seen. And vulnerability is one of the things that they
Mhm.
don't know how to do. So I teach them how to be vulnerable. So once I get them into that state, they start learning to be more aligned and also love who they are. And then all of a sudden, they start listening to their intuition, which is that feminine energy. They start allowing themselves to relax. Ooh, I just know and trust now. But when they're in that alpha state, they're in protective survival mode. So they're always trying to figure everything out, be one step ahead of everybody else so they don't get what? Hurt. So they're always trying to protect themselves from
Mm.
of hurt.
You find once you've been hurt, you put up a shield,
Yep.
and that shield guards you from your instincts, or like, or
It guards you from feeling anything. So you're always on. So it's like survival mode. Like what happens within a trauma state, which I'm gonna not get into too much, but when you've had some level of trauma, if you've been really hurt, what you do is like when you touch a stove, ouch. You don't do that again.
right.
So your nervous system and your neurological pathways are like, don't touch the stove, there'll be pain. But what happens when it's emotional stuff? Don't go there, don't open your heart, don't feel this, don't trust that person. Let's build this shield so we protect ourselves. So a lot of the times, I'm me included, and this is how I've learned this is through my experience and really realizing this. And this is where I feel like I'm so different than anybody else that teaches on this topic, is that when we have this shield, we are not allowing ourselves to feel emotions in or out. So we shut down. And what happens is you start numbing yourself out. A lot of people numb themselves out through drinking, drugs,
Mhm.
sex. Mine was shopping. That was my thing. So
Really?
I was a
Now
shopper.
did you go broke on that?
No, I had a husband, so we all and I was an attorney. I made money. It was something, but I will say this, it wasn't we could have had a lot more money had I not been doing that. But I was secretly buying things, hiding them. And I remember one time for Christmas and I put stuff on Facebook, people were like, it was like that much stuff for two little kids. I mean, I think at that point I was like, something
So that's
is
funny.
right.
I mean, you joke about, people joke about it in the media, but you're saying being a shopaholic is a form of self-medicating, and you were
Totally,
a
totally.
functional shopaholic.
Totally, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, people buy things. I mean, they're filling an empty hole inside of them and they're not in touch with their emotional state. So this is why, people buy Lamborghinis or buy things that feels good, but like, do you really need a Lamborghini, a Porsche, like 7 or 8 different high-end cars? Well, they're probably filling something that's not. And mind you, they can have all of those things too. If they could be completely healed and want to have those things, that's a different story. But usually most of the time when people are using their material things, it's because they want validation. They're filling a hole inside of themselves. There's 3 areas I believe that people have wounds that are deep: unworthiness,
Mhm.
abandonment, and betrayal. And a lot of the times that's what people are stopping themselves from feeling.
Okay, it's like you just stole my diary. That's everything in my life.
Yeah.
But let's talk about yours. How do you go from being a shopaholic lawyer to being the teacher that you are?
So it was 2013, January, and I just finished a bodybuilding competition. That's another thing. Woman who's bodybuilder, works out a lot. She's working on her outside, not so much her inside. So it's what we have control over, which is how I'm going to look. So I finished my bodybuilding competition, and a girlfriend of mine was actually going to be featured on the news. And I wanted to be on TV. So I'm like, I'll go, I'll attend. And I helped. She came with me and we did the show together. I was in this yoga class, and I mean, it was like they had the incense going, there was condensation on the wall. I was ready to go. I had the cutest Lululemon outfit on. And I remember going up to the camera guy and going like, don't pan on me too much, but I really wanted him to know like, hey, I was in the room. And I remember putting down she had set up my mat. I put my phone down right beside, because that's what you do when you're an alpha female A type. You put your phone down so you can mark how long you've been in the class. And so while I was in this class, I had done yoga maybe 3 times. Okay. But I was mentally very fit. I could do anything physically because I was bodybuilding for years. So I'm in this class and she starts talking. We're putting our legs one way. She has us going up and down. And I'm like, she's showing off. We did about 50 dog downs by this point. And I'm like, it felt like P90X yoga. And I'm
Okay.
like, lady, stop. So, anyways, I'm in this. And then she starts talking. She goes, put one leg one way, put the leg the other way. I'm doing that. I grab this little little square little, cork thing to hold on to. And as she's talking and I'm trembling because my like hips are just like ready to give out, she's like, "Are you happy in your life? Are you living the best life?" And I remember every time I'd find a penny or something, I'd wish for happiness. Like, I'm a woman who had it all and I was still wishing for happiness. And in that moment, I'm like putting my leg there. This excruciating pain came over my hips and I'm fighting through it. I'm fighting through it. And as I'm fighting through it, I start crying. And she's like, do you love your life? And I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, I don't even know who Shamina is anymore. I started having a breakdown. That physical pain turned into emotional pain. And I had something wash over me for all the decades that I had not allowed myself to just feel. Everything came pouring out on that mat that day. And I was having the ugliest cry you had ever had in your life. And I did not move. I stayed in that position to the end of the call and sorry, into the end of the event. And people were
Wow.
coming up, rubbing my back, saying it's going to be okay. I remember lifting my head up and there's like snot running down because I was wearing this Lululemon outfit. I was like this big. It had no material. And I was just like, something has to change in my life.
But there you are. You're a half naked bodybuilder who looks like she has everything.
Yes.
And you realize you had everything but being happy.
Exactly. There was no peace in my life. I had the perfect life. I had the perfect husband, 2 kids. We lived in a mansion. We'd travel to Europe all the time. We had everything, but I realized I had lost who I was in my marriage and I was no longer happy. I was numb, living out a life that I thought I had to live because that's what we're taught and told. I was so disassociated with who I was as a woman in my emotions. So then this was the journey. I remember leaving there and my ex-husband and I talked a couple of days later and we both realized we weren't happy. He'd been drinking and I moved out. He moved out 30 days later because we went to a therapist and they said that was the best thing. I've been walking on eggshells my whole entire life. And in that marriage, I was not myself. And I remember going to a psychic because I'm like, give me the answers. Tell me
Yeah.
what to do because I have 3 degrees and I thought I knew my life and I still don't know what I'm doing. So psychic, tell me. And she's like, your third eye's closed. I'm like, what the hell is a third eye and how the hell do we get that bitch open? And I remember that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. And I realized that I'd come here to do something else. I had a calling. Some voice was coming to me saying, you are here for something greater. I had to leave behind my husband, my career. I kept my kids in the house. And this was 9+ years ago. And I've been on this journey of knowing that I can help other women get out of suffering. Everybody that is in suffering right now is choosing it because they think they have no other choice.
And how do you go from crying bodybuilder on the brink of divorce to I want to teach? And what qualifies you to teach?
So I spent 9-something years, right? This is going to be the woo side of me. Spiritual people who had passed on the beyond were coming to me. And remember, I'm a lawyer. And so when this stuff started happening, I'm like, this is crazy. Because I was like starting to think things and then they would come. I started moving through certain belief systems, healing certain parts of my emotions. And then I would think of it and it would come. I'm like, I'm onto something. I believe that whatever energy we have that's stuck in us, that's unhealed, is actually creating a dis-ease in our body, but also blocking us from the blessings and the things that we want to create. So if we can move that energy, because the energy cannot be created or destroyed, energy can just be moved. So if you allow yourself to release and move that energy out of you, you're going to make room to receive something else. So I did start taking classes. I had different spiritual teachers, but to be honest with you, I was leading myself through this process with the help of the beyond. And I started realizing that I needed to be the biggest student of my life. So I didn't for years go out and teach. I spent probably 2017, I had Kundalini awakening. Dr. Joe came into my life. He's also somebody that talks about the metaphysics. I needed the science to back up what I was doing. I started studying the physics of the quantum field and understanding where our thoughts create our reality, but also our emotions are the dictator of that. And this literally changed. And then I saw, okay, there's a feminine and masculine energy. There's a wounding here. There's also this connection with money. Then I made $1 million in 10 months. I thought everybody that started this business made $1 million. So no, sorry, it was a year. The first time I did it was a year. And I set an intention on my birthday. I said, in a year from now, I'm going to make $1 million. And June of 2021, I made $1 million.
Okay,
and
now
just did it faster.
Okay, and this is where we get into the whole thing of what's the first step to, like, you realize you're broken. What's the first step?
Well, I let's rephrase that. I don't want anybody to feel they're broken. And I don't want anybody to feel like they are, because I thought I was, and you're not. I
Well,
want you to understand, like, just to rephrase, because I want women
no,
to be
yeah, because like, or
empowered.
rephrasing, I think, listen, I think there are people who listen to this podcast, like, but the gimmick of my podcast is I'm owning the midlife crisis.
That's what I did.
Okay. And the gimmick of this podcast, which I forgot to do at the beginning, is this is the place where the offbeat come to meet. Those are the two gimmicky things in the podcast. And I guess the question is, like, how can you have that crying session on the yoga mat without having the crying session on the yoga mat? Like, I feel like there might have been a day or two before that crying session on the yoga mat. You knew you were crying.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So for the people who are there without necessarily embarrassing themselves in front of 1,000 other yogis, what is what would be the first real step for attainable step for someone who doesn't have the budget for you?
When you're starting out, if you feel like there's this emptiness and there's something more,
Mhm.
and you're not feeling that happiness, something's missing. That was the first thing, like something's missing. And that is the big aha. That it's kind of Groundhog Day is what I called it, like waking up doing the same thing over and over again. It's like there's got to be more to this life than this. There's got to be something deeper coming from this.
Yeah.
And a connection to myself is missing. That's what really knowing me and taking the mask off. Like, I stopped pretending. I'm very unfiltered right now, but there wasn't a time that I was very like, let's put on the perfect outfits on the Instagram and the Facebooks, and let's live this little perfect life. And we're going to do all the little perfect things. And that's usually the red flag that something's wrong. Is
Mhm.
when everything's too perfect, because you're afraid for people to really see what's going on behind the scenes. You don't want anybody to know your dirty little secrets. That's how you know you cannot be yourself and you're not in alignment. You're not your true highest self of who you are and what you came to do. And listen, don't beat yourself up. We do the best we can with what we got, with where we are. And this is where you have to just take that next step and realize, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. There's something that's got to give. And I realized that was my defining moment. I've had a couple since then too, because this is not a linear
Yeah.
experience. It's like, up and down. The chart's insane. And, but the more you allow yourself to be real, raw, and honest with who you are, you will shift and change into a different place. The sex comes when
Oh,
you
God,
start allowing yourself with, like, I love pleasure. And I believe that a lot of times people have shame from some of the trauma that they've had. They have shame from experienced things. Women that work with me, they feel they have to do everything hard. I'm here to tell you that hard is a misnomer. And working smarter is better. And I don't really like the term anymore. I worked hard for it. I worked hard, because hard equates suffering. And where I'm
Mhm.
like, sex is pleasurable. I mean, if you want it hard, you can have it hard. But I mean, like, but if you want to enjoy it,
And we're back to the double entendre. We're back, people.
but if you want to enjoy it, it's there for you. And making money is not hard, but people think it is because they think it's so beyond where they are. And so I feel like if you allow yourself to be in a state of knowing that you can rewire, reprogram a belief or an emotion, and understand that what you're carrying now, there's something that everybody's carrying right now that is so heavy that you've stayed with it, that's made you have maybe a victim mindset, or something has happened to me instead of for me. If you can let that go, you will open up so much space for all these riches to come in.
Okay. I love that. And I don't know if that's the ending of the podcast or where I should be asking a smarter question. We're way over on time, but and no. But I also kind of like, it's a podcast. I could go for a day if I like. We could make this a 24-hour session, and I want to be respectful of your time. So the first step is you work on yourself, and that opens you up to your instincts that lead you to make more money, and then open you up to finding the right partner to have the great sex with.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. If you are ever wanting to just make money, you will never make money the way that could be extraordinary. Like, if people chase money, they're chasing the wrong thing. Money is just energy. And if you understand, if you're just looking for sex, you'll find it. But if you want to have amazing, better sex like my clients do, it's connection. And the only way you can have that connection is with another person's soul, is to be connected to yourself, and being allowed to receive and be open. And when I talk to men, this is where the flip side of the conversation goes, is that, okay, you know how to chase money and do it. I said, but where do you allow yourself to be? Like, because this is the biggest thing. I'll tell every man and woman that's listening, do you ever allow yourself to just chill? Like, just to be like, okay, I've done enough today. I'm just going to relax. A lot of times people don't know how to just be and be in that energy because they feel lazy. I need to be doing something. And this is where I help a lot of women. You don't need to have every single minute of your day planned out. In fact, the time where my clients make the most amount of money, have the most sex, is when they're actually just sitting back and being. And the first thing I'll ask anybody that comes to my space, what does your ideal day look like? I want you to sit down and just dream right. Just sit there and go, if I could wave this magic wand in front of you, what would you do? What time would you wake up? Would you wake up with an alarm? How would it be? Because I can tell you right now, if you're not living every day like it's your dream life, then something's got to give.
Okay. So I've had actually someone I met through Chris and Jen on the podcast before ask that question. I waved the magic wand. I described the dream life. And I want to be careful being too negative because I've had an amazing year. Maybe not the year I thought I would have. Maybe not the years I used to have, but accidentally it's been a heck of a year. And I guess the question is, when someone asks you to describe the perfect day and the perfect life, which I have done on the podcast before, what is the next step to making it happen? Because I had a great moment with a friend of mine at the gym before coming here. And this friend, who's actually a big deal at ABC, I wish I could say who it was, but it was a mentoring moment. And you talk about like God coming to take care of you, opening your energy and letting the universe take care of it. And then his line was, well, Tom, you have to also create the energy around you. And pause, because I'm going to ask you for how to do it, because I only just came to this revelation while late for the podcast in my own apartment. And I've had this great analogy about my life right now is I feel like I'm in a sailboat. I know God will provide the wind, but I don't quite know where to point the rudder anymore.
Okay. So I always believe, you asked me like 3 or 4 things there. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna cover
please
as much
go.
as I can though. When I ask people, for example, when do you want to wake up? They're like, I'd love to wake up at 9 with no alarm. What time do you wake up now? 5. I ask, why do you do that? Because that's what time I've always woken up. Why do you do that? Because I can get a lot done. What do you get done? They tell me, could you do that after 9? Probably. Why do you so people do things out of habit more so than out of desire. And I believe if you live a life with intention and desire, your life will completely change. The next thing is I'd love to sit and drink my coffee by myself without anybody talking to me. Why don't you do that right now? Well, because I get on my computer and I start working. Why do you do that? Because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Because if I don't, I'll feel behind. So it's this feeling of I've gotten rid of time. I feel like I live on spiritual time. I live in the now. Every single moment of my day, what is it that I want to feel? How is it that I want to be? Because I know the energetics of how I want to feel, what I want to be is what creates my reality. So with what your mentor just said, what's the energy around you? We create an energy field all day long with what we admit from what's inside of us. So if you've got a lack mindset and you're thinking it's hard, I've got to chase money. I'm a victim. Money's running out. I could waste money, or I'll never find a deal partner. I'll never lose weight. Look at that person. Lots of judgment. That's what you're going to create on a daily basis around you. Because I know my energy and who I am and what I create is so important, I'm intentional about it. So I want abundance to come to me. So I have to think in abundance. The only way something's going to be multiplied if it's something that you want. So if you keep thinking negatively, you keep creating a life that you don't want, you're going to get more of it. So if you want to create a life that's going to bring abundance, the ideal partner, waking up whenever you want to, how much money you want, what you want to do, you've got to create it right now. And that's really hard for people because I had a 0 bank account, but I knew that if I kept looking at my current reality, I'd keep attracting more of that. And what I had to do was look to what did I want to create. So I had to become the wealthy woman before I was the wealthy woman. I had to become that person. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to step into what your next level self will look like and act and be like them right now within reason, right? You don't want to fake it. You want to be as aligned as possible. And if you have those thoughts that come up, they're not alignment, journal them. I'm a big journaler. Put
You
them out.
journal the negative thoughts. You journal the ones that are out of alignment. Why?
Everything.
Why
Because
out of alignment and not the ones that are in alignment?
I do both, but definitely the ones out of alignment first. I'll tell you this, because they're still there. So if you don't put them somewhere, they're going to be there. And a lot of times people ignore those thoughts. They shop, they drink, they porn, they do whatever else. So they don't have to feel the negative thoughts. They don't have to think about them, or they're addicted to thinking about them. They love complaining about their life. So either you take them out of your head and your thoughts and you put them on paper and realize that you're being the asshole of your life and you're the one that's responsible. You are the only one in your way of the things that you want. So if you don't have the partner of your dreams, it's because there's something in you that's doesn't believe you can receive it. Or you think that all good men are gone or all good women are gone, or you feel like you're going to get hurt. There's something about you, right? So, or maybe you're not ready to date right now. Maybe you want to be a player. Maybe you want to have a good time, or maybe you don't want them.
Yeah. Or I'm a player holding out for something unrealistic.
No, I don't believe in that.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I believe you get everything you want. What you have right now is what you're desiring.
See, I am going to argue with you a little bit on that one.
Sure.
I'm going to bleep out some of the details on this, but I have a crazy idea for the person I'm supposed to be with in my head. I had my dream ex was Ivy League educated, genius, and she was a superhero mentally and physically. And I want that again.
Okay, I'll tell you where your mistake is. Stop right there.
Yeah.
So you have an energy of it's gone and it's lost because you don't have her. So instead of saying, I want that again, you don't feel like you have that now or that it's possible because it's lost. And when something's lost, I'm going to give you the relation to money. So if someone owes you money, I have this energy of owed. People, that's why I tell people never to lend money out, always give it. Or if someone hasn't paid you back, they owe me. So if you have I owe me energy, that's going to create negative, loss, lack, not abundance. So if you like, I had the most perfect, ideal woman and she's gone now. What hole or energetics did she leave behind in you? It's missing. It's gone. It's not there. Not of, oh gosh, wouldn't that be amazing? I'd love you to rewire this and take her as an example to create your dream girl. And maybe there's other women out there, like, I really like how she did that little thing in bed, or she did that, or how she brought me tea, or she brought me coffee, and then create the possibility that it does exist because you've seen it before. Use it instead to be an incentivier that, yes, it does exist because I've seen it before. So I know I can have it again. Not, oh, I had it once, it's gone. See the shift?
Well, I see the shift, and then I've applied the shift. I've done the beat. Like, I mean, if I'm being real, and this is, I don't want to go down this road too far, but over the last 2 years, people have seen that my listeners, my viewers have seen me. They've seen me get knocked off a great roller coaster professionally, which we talked about before the show. I got back on the roller coaster. It started going up and then it derailed. It's back up again, but I'm freelancing and I don't know where the roller coaster will go next. And even with women, I lost weight, found a recreation of the dream girl I lust for or yearn for, whatever, or emotionally want. And then God bless, that fell apart in 3 minutes. Like, and that's a whole, I don't want to recreate the whole story, but it was one of those, oh my God, there's the person I have a crush on. I went to make small talk and the story ends with me being blocked on Facebook.
So let me tell you something. So let's take that event.
Let me use my phrases and then you can fix it. If you want what might be the unrealistic, how do you or someone like you make it more, teach your clients to make it more realistic?
You have to have deep faith. So I have a saying called "It's happening." And this is where we have to remove all of the blocks to us thinking that it's not going to. You cannot keep looking at the past to create the future or the present. So what a lot of people do, especially when they're stuck in a trauma bond or a toxic cycle, they're like, well, this happened before, so it's going to happen again. This is why women stay at certain income levels. They don't have more money because they're like, well, I made that money last time, so I'm going to make that money this time. You're not going to know. To have something extraordinary, you've never done it before. So what do you have to believe? You've got to have this deep-rooted faith that it's coming no matter what. So I have a saying, it's called "This happening." I have a saying that more is coming. You have to believe that there is this possibility. What if it could happen? But if you're sitting here recreating Groundhog Day, every single thing that's happened before, then you're going to keep having it happen. And then you're going to say, well, I did have this moment where I did have a ability to think that possibly it could happen. And then I was disappointed. Okay, so what do you do with it? You move on and you keep going. You don't give up. You can't let these incidents be like they're forever over. There are things that happen in life to get you to fine tune how you're asking for the things that you want, being open to receiving them and allowing them to come into your life. But we cannot look at the past and be like, keep repeating it over and over again. It has to be done and it has to be over. And fresh slate every day. What's new? Today I'm going to have faith.
So if I had blank, blank, and blank not work out yesterday.
Bye.
Now, buy is a strong word. So if I'm a comedian, trying to get booked at a narrow list of clubs in a city, let's say 2 aren't talking to me. Do I keep emailing them blindly as if they didn't not answer the emails from yesterday? How do you change that story?
So you can, or you just keep finding new ones to apply to. So, but here's the thing. You have to first start with your desired state. I'm going to give you something really, really small, very, very small. You have to be emotionally connected to what the outcome is that you want, not the thing having the booked gig, but what would it feel like when you're on stage and people are just laughing and looking at you and just like cheering on and want more from you. And like, when's your next show? How do I tell more people? Like you have to get into the final result of what you want, the relationship, having that person calling you, seeing their name pop up on your phone, knowing you have someone who has your back, you feel safe, you feel connected, you feel loved, you know that this person is going to give you, you go to the end result. And when people can't get that emotional state, that's when they come work with me, because what happens is their sabotage, their perfectionism, overthinking, their all these thoughts, all their patterns of behaviors come up to block them for getting into the state of what the truth of could be for their future. So I believe that anything could happen right in this moment. Anything could happen. Like something could drop out of the sky. Somebody could connect to me. We're connected by just a happening. Like I live in this energy of all the things are more possible than they're not, because I have 2 choices. Either it's going to work or it's not going to work. So I only have one choice. It's going to work. And I just stay open to all of that. And it took a long mother effing time to get here, to be in this state. And that's why I teach it. So women go faster. It's a year for them, or maybe less, or 6 months. In 2 months, women start having action with me. It's because I start rewiring how they feel. I find the root of why they believe they keep repeating the same pattern. Because you'll have your pattern show up in different people, different situations, and it's the same outcome. And you're like, why is it still happening to me? Because it's not happening to you. You have got to shift and change what's in you so you have a different outcome. At the end of the day, I always say, if you can take full responsibility that it's always you, then you have the full power to create whatever it is you want.
All right. We're not going to find a better ending than what you just said there. That is I want to talk to you for 6 more hours.
I know everybody does.
That was perfect. Now, quick 2 thoughts on the podcast here. If a gimmicky thing here. The gimmick of the podcast has been owning the midlife crisis. It used to be one comedian fixing life. I really need to pick something more specific if I want to. Like, I really need to be one comedian talking about Marvel Comics if I were really working on building this up. But I kind of like the free-flowing nature of, I could talk to Shamina, I could talk to the Pope next week or whatever.
I love it.
But what about when you get into taglines? Is one comedian owning the midlife crisis just recreating the midlife crisis and making it bigger?
Well, it's giving people a platform to show that, you could go through a midlife crisis, but then there's this beautiful result at the end. So I feel like your platform is showing people.
Does it have to be one comedian crushing the midlife crisis, or does it have to be one comedian fixing life? Sounds lame. And then I feel like if it's one comedian fixing life, it's always implying life is broken.
Exactly. And I don't think like that.
Okay. So one comedian, I want you to fix one sentence and then I'm going to let you go. One comedian owning the midlife crisis. Is that a good sentence?
Yeah. I mean, owning it and just experiencing it, or like allowing it to happen, or just the rebirth of the midlife, or the midlife crisis. To me, I feel like everybody's having a spiritual awakening, FYI, but they just have coined it the midlife crisis. But at some point on this planet, when you come here, you're going to question, what the did I do? What do I have? Why am I here? And so it's and I don't want to use awakening because it's a little woo woo, but it's true.
No, but I was going to go with one comedian having a spiritual awakening, but too many words.
But awakening to their spirit, or awakening their soul. I mean, it's really what it is. It's like an awakening of your soul self. It's awakening of your truest self. And I feel like there is something I feel like there's something deeper because we're connected. So I feel like there's something much deeper that's coming through for you.
Okay. All I know for sure is if you listen closely, you could hear all the women having sex during this podcast. This was
Get it, ladies.
delightful.
Get it, ladies. Get those orgasms on.
All I can say is after this podcast, can we be better friends, or
Sure,
at least would you do this again?
Absolutely. I love this.
All right. Tell everybody where to find you, where to find the free stuff, and then build up from there.
Okay, sure. So I have a free Facebook group. It's called The Quantum Woman, because I take you from the alpha female to the quantum woman who's making more money and having better sex.
Mhm.
And you can join me in the free Facebook group. You can download my wealth meditation. People have been doing that. It's
Now, does
free.
that one work for men?
It does. Go listen to it. I mean, just listen to it, and people start making money because I'm teaching you how to get really in touch with yourself, and it's free. And I actually was charging lots of hundreds of dollars for thousands of dollars for this because it was in a paid program. So go download it for free, and then join me on Instagram. I do have 2 accounts because I'm like that.
Yeah.
So
Why?
because it's a long story, but
If it goes down, you have the other going.
yeah, basically. But it's like I had a team that was running things, and we just anyways, we're trying to stay ahead of Instagram. But follow both of them for me. And my stories usually have lots of information. Go follow me on YouTube. I'm going to be cranking that up. And
Okay.
and that's something that's huge. So go follow me on YouTube. I try to do the TikTok thing. I'm still trying. I don't know, but just don't go to TikTok. I mean, go to YouTube and Facebook. Join me on Facebook. I am always on Facebook, and connect with me on Facebook.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shamina Taylor. And for me, people, all you need to know is, listen, if you enjoyed this, if you learned something, comment right below. Share this with somebody who's going to use it. And, what do you got?
One more. I forgot. I'm starting a podcast. I forgot all about this.
Can I be on this? Oh my God. Wait.
When's
your podcast starting?
Well, we're getting it together. We're probably going to try and launch it maybe end of November, in December. But The Quantum Woman is the podcast, and I've got a book coming out. It's going to come out next year. Unlocking the Quantum Woman, in you. And so a lot of good things are happening, and we have in-person events all the time. I do in-person events where you can come work with me in person. So ShaminaTaylor.com is my website. Go check it out. But I am here for a movement. I'm here to have a movement and help everyone that I can get in contact with to not be in the life state that I was in. And I know many of you are, and to just bring you more happiness in your life.
I don't. Yeah. You've ended the show 6 times and I keep going. That's it. You know what? Good night, Chicago.